That's hot, and that's just disgusting.
So that's okay because it's hot, but this is not okay because it's something natural and you think it's disgusting?
Yeah.
All right. That's what you think then.
Hi guys, and Ivan. Okay, so welcome to my channel on my website, on my room. Okay, so sorry about my soft toys. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about breastfeeding in Singapore. I'm not sure if a lot of you have realized, but over the recent years, a lot of Singaporean mothers have become more confident and outspoken in terms of breastfeeding in public. And some of you might have come across the article that came out in Stomp where a mother actually openly breastfed on an MRT train. And because of this whole issue on breastfeeding in public, some people have said that because of it, the internet has been divided, meaning that there are two conflicting views that actually arise from this issue. And one of the groups actually feels that supporting should be done in public, and there's no reason why it should be restricted, because it's a natural process and breastfeeding is a form of natural sustenance for the babies. So there's no reason why that there should be any rules against it. But another group feels that it's disgusting, it should be done in private areas, and they don't understand why breastfeeding mothers are just doing it in public. Well, let's talk about it a little bit more. So this video took place in the United States, okay? A country that's known to thrive on its freedom of speech, okay? And it's known to be very liberal and open-minded, especially when you compare it to Singapore, okay? But then don't you think that the difference between the kind of feedback and opinions that it garnered was very appalling? Like, one guy said that breastfeeding, which is supposed to be a natural process, he called it disgusting. And then he called the lady who was showing off her boob hot. Okay? But this is just a very big irony, because if you think about it, the one who was showing off her cleavage was showing off way more boob as compared to the other mother who was breastfeeding. And mind you, she was just revealing a little part of her boob, which she can't help revealing. Yeah. So this is just a very big irony that just seems to exist, and no one seems to be really addressing the issue, okay? And then there are people who actually claim that breastfeeding moms are just doing it for the sake of seducing other men or other husbands. I mean, like, seriously? And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, Eka, who actually did his study in 2009, as well as myself, feel that this is only so because of the way breasts have been sexualized in the media as well in society. I mean, think about it. They're probably referred to more as titties, jugs, and boobies as compared to breasts for the purpose of breastfeeding. So they're always placed in a sexual context rather than in a more biological context, for the purpose of fulfilling its natural purpose, which, can I just point out, was the reason why God blessed women with these. And I mean, it's not our fault that, according to Henderson and colleagues who actually did the study in 2009, as well as Dozier and Obisco, who actually conducted the study in 2015, that they found that men see breastfeeding as a sexual activity. So I'll be doing a comparison between two posts. One was the Singaporean mother who was stomped when she was breastfeeding on an MRT, and another from a social media personality called Sonia Davison. So Sonia Davison, she is an international model, international host, obviously attractive, really attractive, half Angmo or Caucasian. So when I was looking at the Storm post as well as Sonia Davidson's post on her Instagram account, you can see a very big difference. So the Singaporean lady, okay, who was breastfeeding on the MRT, she actually received a lot of negative comments. A lot of them from guys and women who say that, she's just being an attention seeker. Is this the only way that she wants to garner attention from the public? She's just out to seduce people. She's a slut. And that was really honestly pretty harsh. But then on the other hand, Sonia Davison actually received a lot of good comments, some of which were actually pretty sexual. Okay, and so based on everything that we discussed earlier, I decided to interview some individuals to see what kinds of reaction they would have to the two photos, as well as what kind of opinions they would have regarding breastfeeding in public in Singapore in general. So I thought that it would be interesting for us to see the difference in opinion between the older generation and the younger generation. So let's take a look at what they have to say.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, boobs. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing lah.
What thing?
Oh, yeah, A cup, B cup, C cup, D cup.
Boobs.
What?
I don't see anything. I'm blind. I'm very sure it's the boobs. Yes.
Seriously?
How do I feel? Overexposed.
Shocked lah, I was shocked to when I see the photo, I was like really shocked.
If I was there, I'll be a bit uncomfortable, but she can do what she wants, I guess.
So I don't think it's like allowed in Singapore. It's something. It's not natural in Singapore. Yeah, not natural. I agree.
She's just breastfeeding actually. There's nothing wrong. She's just feeding the child, but maybe it's just that in our culture we just not used to this.
I'm still not okay with this, but I'm a little bit better with this than just now the situation.
Okay, not as bad lah.
Why is it not as bad?
She pretty lah.
This one is like it's a well taken photo and like the intention, like she has the intention of showing that she's breastfeeding, but the other one is taken like from someone else, like the person trying to report, and then I think trying to kind of insinuate that's not a good thing, or like why is she doing this. So like the purpose, the intention behind the photos are very different.
So you mean this picture attract positive reaction? Oh, okay, I'm surprised because to me, it's just a woman breastfeeding is the same as the previous one.
No one.
Not really. I mean,
If
as
she
in,
was
her
in the
face shouldn't be the focal point, right? Should be the boobs.
Her background, her looks, and whatever that is going on in this picture makes me perceive that it's better than the first picture lah.
So you see it's more acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah, to a certain extent, you know, like if let's say you're a celebrity, models, you know, I guess they get away.
Acceptable.
I think Korean pop star nicer.
Open sitting in the public, openly breastfeeding without any covers, in my opinion, is not acceptable. I can accept when they're sitting in public, they can sit on a bench, but if they have a piece of cloth over themselves to cover themselves, they can breastfeed. That one I'm okay with.
In Singapore, the people, because of the environment and the people that stays here, people are not open-minded enough to accept this kind of things.
So it's like half acceptable, half not really. Yeah. At the moment, I feel.
No.
Not at all.
No.
No. I just told you I felt it's quite disgusting, so I'm not aroused by that.
I think it's weird.
Yeah. It's weird.
Weird.
Breastfeeding is a situation where it's a mom and the kid. So sexually aroused? No, I don't think so.
Breastfeeding a bit overexposed lah. A bit only lah.
When I interpret cleavage, I think it's like you're trying to show a bit but not everything. But then like breastfeeding
This
is
is like all out.
almost
all out.
almost all out.
No different. Like women who show their cleavage, like depends on their intentions, like they want people to see or whether it's for their own self lah. Like this breastfeeding is normal like for mothers, every baby need it right. So I feel like there's a difference lah.
Singapore is becoming more and more westernized, so they actually tried I think they're just trying to fit into the Western culture.
No, I think they are more aware that breastfeeding is actually good for the baby, and then I think people are trying very hard to if they have a child, then they will try to breastfeed.
Exposure to the Western media
Culture.
and culture, and a mindset right now whereby they are a lot more liberal and open.
Maybe because they're more like Western cultures.
I think it's the Western culture thing.
So because we're Asian, no matter what, we still should have this value of understanding what is shamelessness. You know, like even Asian value, the Chinese value is to understand what is shamelessness.
So based on the interview questions and the kind of responses we got, especially from the first question when I asked the interviewees what was the most prominent feature of Kim Kardashian, you could see that the older generation had a tendency of being pretty uncomfortable when it came to discussing more sexual topics, whereby some of them were pretty reluctant to even express what the breasts were. They were very reluctant to even verbalize the term for it. And also, some preferred a more neutral and biological term whereby they referred to them as breasts rather than boobs or titties. So this perhaps, gives us an idea of how generally Singaporeans are still more traditional and conservatives, as one of them even pointed out that as Asians, we ought to know and understand the value of shamelessness. That being said, the reason why breastfeeding in public in Singapore has become more prevalent over the recent years could be because of an increased awareness. So according to Ellen and Hector in 2005, there are numerous benefits to breastfeeding for both the mother and the child. And it has also been found by Heck, Braveman, Cabin, Chavez and Keeley in 2006 that mothers with a higher education level would have a higher tendency of breastfeeding their child. And as you know, an increasing number of Singaporean women are becoming more and more educated these days, and because of that, the education could have empowered them to be more vocal and outspoken in terms of what they are passionate about. And this is consistent to findings of Chowdhury, Buya, Mahmood, Abdul Salim and Karim, who did a study in 2000, as well as the study who was conducted by Bloom, Whipji and Dust in 2001, that education indeed influences a woman's sense of autonomy and power of decision making. So in this sense, we can imply that perhaps breastfeeding in Singapore is also a way for Singaporean women to express their sexuality in terms of how they are now educated and independent women in the modern day society. So this is why we see that more of them are actively standing up for breastfeeding in public, something that they're really passionate about, and they're publicly fighting for it. So like in this picture that was taken from a website from a support group for breastfeeding mothers in Singapore. And this can also be linked to perhaps the desire of Singaporean women to fight for their freedom. But now let's talk about desire in relation to breastfeeding in public in Singapore in relation to men. So similar to what Johnston, Robledo and colleagues had found in 2007, some Singaporeans do feel that breastfeeding is a form of sexual activity, or it's a sexual activity that's associated with it. And you can have seen this based on the comments that we saw in Sonia Davison's Instagram posts, as well as some of the hate comments that we saw in relation to the woman who got stomped on the MRT train. But this association could have also been based on the stereotypical association of breasts and sexual activities, as well as the lack of education and awareness of breastfeeding in Singapore. And so while we learn that Singaporeans in general are still not very ready for breastfeeding openly in public, we also find that the hypersexualization of breasts in the media have also resulted in the perception that breastfeeding in public is not as acceptable. And you can also tell this because generally people in Singaporeans, or our interviewees for example, they are just not very, including the younger generations, they're not very comfortable when it came to discussing the topics, and many preferred the more neutral and more biologically correct term to use it rather than the more sexualized terms. And we also see that perhaps women are more outspoken about breastfeeding because they're more educated, and so they feel more empowered, and this was a platform for them to express their sexuality as strong, independent women. So with that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.